Today is World Autism Awareness Day. Many landmarks across the United States may be lit up blue as part of the Light It Up Blue for Autism. However, many autistics would actually prefer you not light it up blue because the Light It Up Blue idea is actually a marketing campaign for an organization called Autism Speaks. And Autism Speaks hasn't done a very good job of representing autistic people. Some people also feel that the color blue is adding to the misconception that autism is only found in boys, which isn't true. However, some autistic people do understand that you're lighting it up blue to help spread awareness. It's just that we would prefer maybe to do so in a different way. A 2018 report cited by the CDC suggests that about 1 in 59 children are diagnosed with autism. So now we know that autism isn't all that uncommon, and our increased knowledge and understanding of autism allows us to be able to diagnose people sooner and more frequently. Now, some people will take these numbers and try to use them and say that something bad is happening, like autism is spreading or taking over or something silly like that. What's really happening is that we're having a huge increase in understanding of what autism is. The criteria for being on the autism spectrum has changed a lot since 2013, with the autism spectrum disorder now including Asperger's and a few other diagnoses, all to be a part of the autism spectrum. So now a lot more people are considered autistic, and we now have more information in how autism presents in different people. So we're able to catch more cases and also diagnose people late who are much older than the earliest ages that we can typically diagnose somebody. One of the most common statistics you'll hear is that boys are 4 times more likely to have autism than girls. However, a recent study actually suggests that despite a diagnosis bias that may cause diagnosis to be 4 to 1, the actual ratio is more likely to be 3 to 1. There are no simple medical tests that can 100% verifiably diagnose someone with autism. Diagnosis primarily depends on behaviors and other observational and developmental factors. Now, while it's inconvenient that we can't simply take a little blood test or do a quick brain scan and figure out 100% for sure if someone has autism, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not something that we have to know immediately because it's not an illness, it's not going to spread, and it's not going to cause someone to die or be sick. So it's not like there's an urgency to have a blood test to be able to verify if someone has autism or not. However, there actually are blood and saliva tests being developed and put onto the market to help assist professionals in a diagnosis. However, they're not very accessible to people right now as insurance doesn't cover it, and there's kind of a whole system to being able to get a hold of one of those. According to the CDC, children and adolescents with ASD had medical expenditures that exceeded those without ASD by about $4,100 to about $6,200 per year, and an additional $40K to $60K is spent per year per child on intensive behavioral therapies. Now, personally, I would like to note that it kind of feels a little bit gross to boil people, human beings, down to numbers in this way. However, it is true that having autism tends to also bring along more costs when it comes to therapy and comorbid conditions. However, many autistics would rather you skip out on that 40 to 60K per year on intensive behavioral interventions because that is usually code for a therapy called ABA, or Applied Behavior Analysis. This therapy typically tends to want young children to go through 40 hours or more per week for 2 years or more for a therapy that sometimes helps and doesn't take into consideration the mental health of the child. If you're interested in learning more about that, I do have a video you can check out. Now, while other therapies and supports do cost money, please understand that the amount cost is necessary for government assistance, for charities, for people wanting to give and to help, but that does not mean that people, autistic people, are just quantifiable numbers or monetary burdens. Autistic people and their families do need special care programs, therapies, etc. And people having autism doesn't just mean that they magically get money, so they do need help. So if you're interested in helping contribute, be sure to look into local charities. It tends to be the local autism charities that do the most for those people in your community. Most autistic people would prefer you steer clear of one of the biggest names in autism charities, and that is Autism Speaks. In 2018, they raised over $300 million in autism blocks, but only spent about $1 million in direct grants and funds for the community, and only about $9 million of that to assist families, which sounds like a lot, but when it comes to over $300 million, you can see why autistic people might not prefer that you send your money to them. So I highly recommend that you look in your local community for autism organizations, and also just check to see if they are affiliated with Autism Speaks, and if so, maybe steer clear from them. And you might also consider directly supporting autistic creators and people online if you would like, or other people in your life. This month is very likely to be filled with formal news pieces about autism done by grossly under and misinformed individuals trying to approach the scary subject of autism. Autistic people and their families do experience struggles and difficulties. Autism isn't always pretty, and awareness and acceptance are very important. But please remember that a lot of media sources will paint autism as a tragedy, and therefore autistic people as tragic burdens on their families, and that's just not true. We are human beings. We're not tragedies. We're people whose brains work differently and have different types of challenges. Yes, we are disabled, but that doesn't make us less worthy of being here. We want your support, not your pity. See us as the human beings that we are, inherently worth being here on this planet with you, just as worthy of it as you are. And this applies to the entire huge spectrum that is autism. High and low support needs, speaking or non-speaking, we are all worthy of life and respect and love and compassion. Learn about autism from those who experience it, those autistic people like myself who can speak and tell you about it, those who are nonverbal who might communicate in other ways, or the families of those who have autistic family members. Learn from the people who actually experience it over what the news is going to try to tell you just from a scary page full of statistics. During this month, I ask for your empathy. Take some time to learn about what autism is, what autistic people experience, and what the families need. Understanding and kindness is so much more valuable than pity. You may be uncomfortable with the word autism, and that's okay. I used to be too. That just means that you don't understand much about it, and that's okay. This month, it's been brought to your attention. So take a little bit of time out of your day to try to understand, so the next time you run across one of us, you can, instead of cringing and avoiding and being scared and not knowing what to do, to engaging and just treating us like the human beings that we are. And on that note, my next video, which is tomorrow, will be released at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, where I will be sharing 25 other autistic creators on YouTube for you to watch. Some of them make content about autism, some just do whatever and they're autistic, and so we just kind of included them. But if you're interested in learning about autism or seeing things from an autistic perspective, I highly encourage you to hang around for tomorrow's video and to check out these creators. Now, I typically post every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on this channel. During this week, I've been posting every day from Monday, and I'll end on Friday, just special for World Autism Awareness Week. But if you're interested in learning more about autism, feel free to check out my channel as well. I have plenty of videos on the topic, and I will be continuing making more content on it. So if you're interested in learning more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit a like if this helped you learn more about autism, and I hope to see you in my next video. Have a wonderful World Autism Awareness Day and week.